Introduction. Within these pages lies the potential to unlock the answers to life's most perplexing questions and fulfill your deepest longings. The author's fervent desire is to ignite a transformative spark within you, recognizing that change is the only unyielding truth in the universe. To read this book and remain unaltered is simply impossible. Whether you seek serenity, love, fulfillment, or joy, the path to these treasures can be found within these pages. But this book offers more than just ethereal promises. It provides a roadmap to tangible results. Imagine a life where your income flourishes, your business thrives, your relationships blossom, and your health radiates vitality. This book can help you overcome addictions, break free from destructive habits, and cultivate a sense of well-being that permeates every aspect of your existence. However, the true essence of this book transcends external rewards. It is a journey towards inner transformation, a quest for the profound insights that lie dormant within you. Information, like a fleeting breeze, is readily available and easily forgotten. Insight, on the other hand, is a beacon that illuminates the depths of your being, guiding you towards lasting wisdom and understanding. This book is your compass on this expedition of self-discovery. Remember, the absolute truth resides not in cold, hard facts, but in the depths of your emotions. Feelings are the language of the soul, the whispers of your innermost being. As you embark on this transformative journey, open your heart and allow your feelings to guide you towards the profound truths that lie waiting to be unveiled. Chapter 1. Unveiling the Roots of Suffering. Life is an intricate tapestry woven with threads of joy and sorrow. While pain is an inevitable part of the human experience, suffering is not a predetermined fate. It is a choice we make, consciously or unconsciously. We cannot control the events that befall us, but we can choose how we respond to them. Imagine this. You lose your job unexpectedly. The initial shock and disappointment are natural and understandable. However, you have a choice. You can succumb to despair, allowing the pain to consume you and spiral into a state of prolonged suffering. Or, you can acknowledge the pain, grieve the loss, and then consciously choose to focus on the opportunities that may arise from this setback. While habits like waking up early, meditating, exercising, and maintaining a healthy diet can undoubtedly contribute to a more balanced and fulfilling life, they cannot eradicate suffering entirely. These practices are akin to tending to a garden. They nourish and support, but they cannot prevent the occasional storm or drought. The key to liberating ourselves from the clutches of suffering lies in understanding the intricate workings of our minds. Our thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions shape our reality. By delving into the depths of our consciousness, we can unravel the tangled knots of negativity, fear, and attachment that perpetuate our suffering. Chapter 2. Unveiling the Illusion of Reality. The Mind as the Architect of Suffering. We often find ourselves trapped within the confines of our own thoughts, mistaking the mental landscape for the tangible reality that surrounds us. This tendency to dwell in the realm of thoughts, rather than experiencing the world as it truly is, lies at the core of human suffering. Each of us possesses a unique lens through which we perceive the world, shaped by our experiences, beliefs, and cultural conditioning. Consider the example of a simple object like a tree. To a botanist, a tree is a fascinating specimen of nature, with its intricate root systems, photosynthesis process, and ecological significance. To a logger, the same tree represents a source of income and raw material. To a child, the tree is a playground, a source of shade, and a climbing challenge. The tree itself remains unchanged, but the meaning we ascribe to it varies vastly, depending on our individual perspectives. This phenomenon extends to all aspects of life. We all experience the same events: birth, death, love, loss, success, failure, but our interpretations of these events differ significantly. Money, for instance, evokes a wide range of emotions and associations. For some, it signifies freedom, security, and the ability to provide for loved ones. For others, it represents greed, corruption, and the root of all evil. The reality of money, however, is simply a medium of exchange, a tool devoid of inherent meaning. Neuroscience sheds light on this phenomenon. Our brains are constantly bombarded with sensory information from the environment. To make sense of this overwhelming input, our brains filter and interpret the data based on our pre-existing mental models. This process of filtering and interpretation creates our subjective experience of reality. In essence, events themselves are neutral. It is our thoughts, beliefs, and judgments about these events that give rise to emotions such as happiness, sadness, anger, or fear. This understanding has profound implications for our well-being. If we wish to alleviate suffering and cultivate lasting happiness, we must learn to observe our thoughts without becoming entangled in them. Just as a scientist observes a chemical reaction without interfering, we can learn to witness our thoughts without judgment or attachment. This practice of mindful awareness allows us to recognize the impermanent and illusory nature of thoughts, freeing us from their grip and opening the door to a more peaceful and fulfilling existence. Chapter 3. Why do we even think? The human mind, a marvel of evolution, has propelled our species to unprecedented heights of innovation, creativity, and problem-solving. Our capacity for rational thought, analysis, and planning has enabled us to overcome countless challenges and adapt to diverse environments. However, this remarkable ability, once essential for survival, has also become a source of immense suffering in the modern world. Imagine our early ancestors roaming the savannas of Africa. Their minds were constantly on high alert, scanning the surroundings for potential threats, predators lurking in the shadows, poisonous plants, or rival tribes vying for resources. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig could signal imminent danger. In this context, overthinking was not merely a habit, it was a survival mechanism. The ability to anticipate and prepare for potential threats increased our ancestors' chances of staying alive and passing on their genes. Potential threats increased our ancestors' chances of staying alive and passing on their genes. Fast forward to the 21st century. We no longer face the same existential threats as our ancestors. Yet, our minds continue to operate in the same hypervigilant mode. We ruminate over past mistakes, worry about future uncertainties, and obsess over trivial details. This incessant mental chatter, fueled by a relentless stream of thoughts, can lead to a state of chronic stress, anxiety, and discontent. The modern world, with its constant bombardment of information and stimuli, exacerbates this tendency to overthink. Social media feeds, news cycles, and work demands create a perpetual state of mental overload. Our minds become overwhelmed, struggling to process the endless stream of information and make sense of the world around us. To break free from this cycle of overthinking and its associated suffering, we must learn to redirect our attention. Instead of getting caught up in the whirlpool of thoughts, we can consciously choose to focus on the present moment. This practice of mindfulness, cultivated through meditation, yoga, or simply taking a few deep breaths, allows us to observe our thoughts without judgment or attachment. Imagine sitting by a riverbank, watching the water flow effortlessly downstream. Your thoughts are like leaves floating on the surface of the river. You can choose to grab onto each leaf as it passes by, getting entangled in its story and carried away by the current. Or, you can simply observe the leaves as they come and go, remaining grounded and centered in the present moment. By shifting our attention from the past and future to the here and now, we can break free from the tyranny of overthinking. We can learn to respond to life's challenges with clarity, wisdom, and equanimity, rather than reacting impulsively or getting lost in a maze of mental anguish. Chapter 4. Thoughts versus Thinking. Thoughts, the ephemeral sparks of consciousness, are the fundamental building blocks of our mental landscape. They are the raw material of our experiences, shaping how we perceive the world around us. Without thoughts, we would be like blank canvases, devoid of the rich tapestry of sensations, emotions, and ideas that make us human. Imagine walking through a forest. The gentle rustling of leaves, the vibrant colors of blooming flowers, the sweet scent of pine needles, all these experiences are brought to life by a continuous stream of thoughts arising in our minds. These thoughts, like fleeting whispers, paint a vivid picture of our surroundings, allowing us to navigate the world and interact with it meaningfully. However, while thoughts are an integral part of our existence, they are not the same as thinking. Thoughts are spontaneous and involuntary, arising and passing away like clouds in the sky. We cannot control the content of our thoughts, nor can we prevent them from appearing. Trying to suppress thoughts is like trying to stop the waves from crashing on the shore. It is a futile endeavor that only leads to frustration and inner turmoil. Thinking, on the other hand, is the act of engaging with our thoughts, analyzing them, judging them, and weaving them into stories. It is the process of ruminating over the past, worrying about the future, and creating narratives about ourselves and the world. Unlike thoughts, thinking is a conscious choice, a deliberate act of mental engagement. For example, you might have a thought about an upcoming presentation at work. That thought itself is neutral, simply a mental image or idea. However, if you start thinking about the presentation, you might begin to worry about making a mistake, doubting your abilities, or imagining worst-case scenarios. This act of thinking can trigger a cascade of negative emotions, such as anxiety, fear, and self-doubt. The key to breaking free from the suffering caused by thinking lies in recognizing the distinction between thoughts and thinking. We cannot control our thoughts, but we can choose how we respond to them. When we simply observe our thoughts without judgment or attachment, we create space for inner peace and tranquility. However, when we start thinking about our thoughts, we become entangled in a web of mental constructs that can lead to emotional distress and suffering. In essence, thoughts are creative, while thinking is destructive. Thoughts, in their pure form, are simply the raw material of our experiences. They allow us to perceive the world, connect with others, and express our creativity. Thinking, on the other hand, can distort our perceptions, create conflict, and lead us down a path of suffering. By learning to distinguish between thoughts and thinking, we can cultivate a more mindful and peaceful relationship with our own minds. Chapter 5. If we can only feel what we're thinking, don't we need to think positively to feel that way? The notion that positive thinking is the key to happiness is deeply ingrained in popular culture. We are constantly bombarded with messages encouraging us to look on the bright side, think positive thoughts, and manifest our desires. While cultivating a positive outlook can certainly be beneficial, it is not the sole determinant of our emotional well-being. In fact, the relentless pursuit of positive thinking can sometimes backfire, leading to frustration, disappointment, and even a deeper sense of unhappiness. To understand why, we must first acknowledge the evolutionary purpose of negative emotions. Fear, for instance, alerts us to potential dangers and triggers the fight-or-flight response, essential for survival in threatening situations. Anger, on the other hand, can motivate us to defend ourselves, protect our loved ones, or fight for justice. However, in the modern world, where most of us are not facing imminent threats to our physical safety, negative emotions often become counterproductive. Anxiety about an upcoming job interview, for example, can lead to sleepless nights, impaired performance, and a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure. Ruminating over past mistakes can fuel a sense of guilt, shame, and self-loathing, preventing us from moving forward and learning from our experiences. Interestingly, positive emotions, such as joy, love, and gratitude, often arise spontaneously without the need for deliberate thought. Think about the last time you felt truly happy. Perhaps you were spending time with loved ones, enjoying a beautiful sunset, or engaging in a fulfilling activity. In those moments, your mind was likely quiet, free from the incessant chatter of thoughts. This observation suggests that our natural state is one of joy, love, and fulfillment. When we are not caught up in thinking, when we are fully present in the moment, positive emotions naturally arise. Conversely, the more we think, the more we distance ourselves from this innate wellspring of happiness. It doesn't matter whether we are thinking positive or negative thoughts. The very act of thinking creates a barrier between us and the experience of joy. Consider the example of a child playing on a beach. The child is fully immersed in the present moment, building sandcastles, chasing waves, and laughing with delight. There is no need for positive affirmations or mental pep talks. The joy arises naturally from the child's complete engagement with the experience. As adults, we often lose touch with this childlike sense of wonder and joy. We become entangled in our thoughts, worries, and anxieties, forgetting that happiness is not something to be pursued but rather a state of being that is always available to us when we quiet our minds and open our hearts to the present moment. By recognizing that positive thinking is not the sole path to happiness, we can liberate ourselves from the pressure to constantly maintain a cheerful facade. We can allow ourselves to experience the full spectrum of human emotions, including sadness, anger, and fear, without judgment or resistance. And in doing so, we may discover that true happiness lies not in the relentless pursuit of positive thoughts, but in the quiet acceptance of the present moment, with all its joys and sorrows. Chapter 6: How the Human Experience is Created, the Three Principles. Chapter 6: The Three Principles of Creation, Unveiling the Tapestry of Human Experience. The human experience, in all its complexity and wonder, is woven from the interplay of three fundamental principles: universal mind, consciousness, and thought. These principles, like threads of a cosmic loom, interweave to create the rich tapestry of our lives, shaping our perceptions, emotions, and actions. Universal mind, the source of infinite intelligence and creativity. Universal mind, the first principle, is the all-pervading intelligence that animates the universe. It is the unseen force behind the growth of trees, the healing of wounds, the instinctive behaviors of animals, and the vast array of natural phenomena. Universal mind is not a distant entity, but an inherent aspect of our being. It is the source of our intuition, inspiration, and creative impulses. When we are connected to universal mind, we experience a sense of wholeness, joy, and fulfillment. This connection is often described as a state of flow, where we are fully immersed in the present moment, our actions effortlessly aligned with our innermost desires. However, when we become entangled in thinking, we create a separation between ourselves and universal mind. This disconnection manifests as negative emotions, such as anger, frustration, sadness, or depression. Consider the example of an artist lost in the act of creation. As the artist paints, sculpts, or writes, their mind becomes quiet, and they enter a state of flow. The creative energy of universal mind flows through them, unimpeded by self-doubt or critical judgment. The result is a work of art that is both beautiful and inspiring. Consciousness, the gift of awareness and experience. Consciousness, The second principle is the light of awareness that illuminates our inner and outer worlds. It is the faculty that allows us to perceive our thoughts, feelings, sensations, and the environment around us. Without consciousness, we would be like sleepwalkers, moving through life without any awareness of our existence or our experiences. Consciousness is not limited to humans. All living beings possess some level of consciousness, from the simple awareness of a single-celled organism to the complex self-awareness of a human being. It is the fundamental ground of all experience, the canvas upon which the drama of life unfolds. Imagine waking up in the morning. As you open your eyes, consciousness floods your being, and you become aware of the sunlight streaming through the window, the sound of birds chirping outside, and the feeling of the sheets against your skin. This awareness is the gift of consciousness, the foundation upon which all our experiences are built. Thought, the power to create and shape reality. Thought, the third principle, is the creative force that shapes our individual realities. It is the ability to conceptualize, imagine, and create new possibilities. Our thoughts are not merely fleeting mental images, but powerful forces that can influence our emotions, actions, and ultimately, our destinies. Without thought, we would be unable to learn, innovate, or evolve. It is the tool that allows us to communicate, solve problems, and build civilizations. However, thought can also be a source of suffering when it becomes entangled with negativity, fear, and limiting beliefs. Consider the example of an entrepreneur launching a new business venture. Their thoughts, filled with optimism, creativity, and determination, fuel their actions and propel them towards success. However, if self-doubt and fear creep into their minds, their thoughts can become a stumbling block, hindering their progress and leading to disappointment. Understanding the interplay of these three principles is essential for unlocking the secrets of human experience. By recognizing the source of our thoughts and emotions, we can learn to navigate the complexities of life with greater clarity, wisdom, and compassion. We can cultivate a deeper connection to universal mind, expand our consciousness, and use the power of thought to create a more fulfilling and joyful existence. Chapter 7. If thinking is the root cause of our suffering, how do we stop thinking? The human mind, a restless kaleidoscope of thoughts, emotions, and sensations, can often resemble a churning sea, its waves relentlessly crashing upon the shores of our consciousness. The yearning for inner peace, a tranquil oasis amidst the mental maelstrom, has been a central theme in spiritual traditions for centuries. While the idea of completely silencing the mind may seem like a utopian fantasy, it is indeed possible to significantly reduce the amount of time we spend entangled in the labyrinth of our own thoughts. Imagine your mind as a bustling marketplace, a cacophony of sights, sounds, and smells vying for your attention. Each thought, like a persistent vendor hawking his wares, tries to pull you into its stall, tempting you with promises of pleasure, security, or resolution. As you wander through this mental marketplace, bombarded by the noise and commotion, you feel scattered, fragmented, and disconnected from your true self. The key to finding peace amidst this chaos lies not in battling the noise, but in cultivating the art of observation. By developing a state of mindful awareness, we can step back from our thoughts and observe them with detachment, witnessing them as they arise and fade away like clouds drifting across the vast expanse of the sky. Through this practice, we begin to recognize the patterns of our thinking, the repetitive stories we tell ourselves, and the triggers that set off a cascade of mental chatter. Think about a time when you were completely absorbed in an activity, such as losing yourself in the beauty of nature, creating a piece of art, or playing music. In those moments, your mind likely became quiet, and you experienced a state of flow, a sense of effortless concentration and presence. This state of flow is not the absence of thought, but rather a state of heightened awareness in which thoughts arise and pass away without creating internal disturbances or distractions. The more we cultivate mindfulness, the more we create space for this natural state of flow to emerge. We begin to notice the gaps between our thoughts, the tranquil moments of silence that lie hidden beneath the surface of our mental activity. We come to the profound realization that we are not our thoughts, but rather the vast awareness that witnesses them. It is important to distinguish between quieting the mind and suppressing thoughts. Trying to control our thoughts is like trying to hold on to sand. The tighter we clench our fists, the faster the sand slips through our fingers. Instead, we must learn to let go, to surrender to the natural flow of thoughts without getting caught up in their narratives. Imagine a leaf floating down a gentle stream. If you reach out and grab onto the leaf, it will resist your grasp and continue its journey downstream. However, if you simply allow the leaf to be, it will eventually float out of sight, making space for other leaves to take its place. In the same way, when we let go of our thoughts, we create space for new experiences, insights, and possibilities to unfold. Our natural state is one of joy, fulfillment, clarity, peace, and love. This state is always available to us, an ever-present wellspring hidden beneath the layers of mental conditioning and habitual patterns of thought. By quieting our minds and cultivating mindfulness, we can rediscover this innate wellspring of well-being and live a life that is more authentic, joyful, and fulfilling. Chapter 8: How we can possibly thrive in the world without thinking. The human mind, with its incessant chatter and tendency to overanalyze, can often feel like a hindrance rather than a helpmate. But what if there were a way to transcend the limitations of thought and tap into a state of effortless creativity, peak performance, and profound fulfillment? This is where the concept of flow, a state of complete absorption in the present moment, comes into play. Imagine a surfer riding a giant wave. The surfer is not thinking about the mechanics of paddling, the angle of their board, or the potential dangers lurking beneath the surface. They are simply being, fully immersed in the experience, their movements guided by intuition and instinct. This is the essence of flow, a state in which the boundaries between self and activity dissolve, and time seems to stand still. Flow is not limited to extreme sports or artistic endeavors. It can occur in any activity that fully engages our attention and challenges our skills. A writer immersed in a captivating story, a musician lost in the melodies of their instrument, a programmer engrossed in coding a complex algorithm, all these individuals can experience the transformative power of flow. When we are in a state of flow, thoughts are not absent, but they no longer hold the same power over us. Instead of getting caught up in a whirlwind of mental chatter, we simply observe our thoughts as they arise and pass away, like leaves floating down a stream. We become fully present, our actions guided by a deep sense of intuition and innate wisdom. This state of heightened awareness and responsiveness allows us to tap into our full potential, both physically and mentally. Athletes in flow perform at their peak. Musicians create their most inspired works, and entrepreneurs make their most innovative decisions. In flow, we transcend the limitations of our ego-driven minds and connect with a deeper source of creativity, wisdom, and insight. Moreover, flow is not just about peak performance. It is also a state of profound joy and fulfillment. When we are fully absorbed in an activity we love, we experience a sense of timelessness and transcendence. We become one with the activity itself, losing ourselves in the sheer pleasure of the present moment. This experience of flow can be cultivated through deliberate practice. By identifying activities that challenge us, engage our curiosity, and provide a sense of meaning, we can create the conditions for flow to occur more frequently in our lives. The more we practice entering into flow, the easier it becomes to access this state at will, regardless of the circumstances. In the state of flow, we are not only free from thought but also from the tyranny of emotions. We are no longer driven by fear, anxiety, or self-doubt. Instead, we are guided by a deep sense of trust in our own abilities and a profound connection to the present moment. This allows us to act instinctively and subconsciously, tapping into a wellspring of creativity and wisdom that lies beyond the reach of our conscious minds. By embracing the power of flow, we can unlock our full potential and experience a life of boundless creativity, fulfillment, and joy. We can transcend the limitations of thought and tap into a deeper source of wisdom and insight. We can discover that our true nature is not defined by the constant chatter of our minds, but by the boundless potential that lies within us when we surrender to the flow of life. Chapter 9. If we stop thinking, what do we do about our goals, dreams, and ambitions? Our goals, dreams, and ambitions are the compass points that guide us through the labyrinth of life, shaping our choices, actions, and ultimately, our destinies. But where do these goals originate? What fuels our desires and propels us forward on our chosen paths? The answer lies in understanding the two distinct sources of our goals: inspiration and desperation. When our goals arise from desperation, they are often rooted in a sense of lack, fear, or insecurity. We feel a pressing need to achieve something external, be it wealth, fame, power, or approval, in the hopes of filling an internal void. This scarcity mindset creates a sense of urgency and pressure as we believe our happiness and well-being depend on attaining these elusive goals. Goals born of desperation become a burden, a heavy weight we carry on our shoulders. We become fixated on the outcome, losing sight of the joy and fulfillment inherent in the journey itself. Our focus shifts outward as we constantly compare ourselves to others and seek external validation. Even if we manage to achieve these goals, the sense of emptiness and dissatisfaction often lingers, prompting us to set new goals in a never-ending cycle of striving and yearning. Inspiration, on the other hand, is a wellspring of creativity, passion, and purpose. When our goals arise from inspiration, we feel a deep sense of alignment with our true selves. We are drawn towards our desires not out of a sense of lack, but out of a genuine enthusiasm for the journey ahead. This abundance mindset allows us to approach our goals with a sense of lightness, joy, and open-heartedness. The author suggests that goals born of inspiration often stem from a source greater than ourselves. He calls this divine inspiration, a connection to a higher intelligence or universal consciousness that guides us towards our true calling. Whether you believe in a divine force or not, the feeling of being moved and inspired by something greater than yourself is a powerful motivator that can propel you towards extraordinary achievements. So, how can we discern whether our goals are rooted in inspiration or desperation? The key lies in remembering the distinction between thought and thinking. Goals that arise in the form of thoughts, spontaneous, intuitive, and often accompanied by a sense of excitement and possibility, are usually born of inspiration. Goals that arise from thinking, on the other hand, those that are carefully analyzed, rationalized, and weighed against external expectations, often stem from desperation. When we create goals out of desperation, we tend to overthink, analyze, and strategize. We become consumed by the how of achieving our goals, losing sight of the why. This can lead to a feeling of obligation, as if we have to achieve our goals to prove our worth or gain acceptance. In contrast, when we create goals out of inspiration, we feel a sense of freedom and expansiveness. We are motivated not by external pressures, but by an inner desire to express our creativity, contribute to the world, and fulfill our unique potential. Ultimately, The source of our goals is far more important than the goals themselves. A goal born of desperation, no matter how impressive or ambitious, will likely lead to feelings of emptiness and dissatisfaction. A goal born of inspiration, even if it seems small or insignificant, can ignite a spark of joy and fulfillment that will radiate throughout our lives. By learning to discern the source of our desires, we can create goals that are aligned with our true selves, goals that will not only lead to external success, but also to a deeper sense of inner peace, happiness, and fulfillment. Chapter 10: Unconditional Love and Creation. Unconditional love, the purest form of love, transcends the boundaries of reason and logic. It is a love that knows no bounds, a love that simply is, without needing justification or explanation. When we love someone unconditionally, we love them not for their achievements, their possessions, or their qualities, but for the simple fact of their existence. Imagine a mother's love for her child. It is a love that endures through thick and thin, a love that does not waver even when the child makes mistakes or behaves in ways that are less than desirable. This love is not based on the child's performance or adherence to expectations, but rather on a deep and unbreakable bond that transcends all conditions. Similarly, there is a form of creation known as unconditional creation, a state in which we create purely for the joy of creation itself, without any ulterior motives or expectations. This is the state in which artists, musicians, writers, and innovators often find themselves when they are truly inspired. Their creations are not driven by a desire for fame, fortune, or recognition, but rather by an inner urge to express their unique vision and bring beauty into the world. Unconditional creation is characterized by a sense of freedom, flow, and spontaneity. It is a state in which we are fully immersed in the present moment, our actions guided by intuition and inspiration rather than by preconceived notions or external pressures. The results of unconditional creation are often groundbreaking, innovative, and deeply moving, as they arise from a place of pure authenticity and unbridled passion. In contrast, when we create with an agenda, our creations become tainted by the desire for external validation. We may strive for perfection, worry about criticism, or become attached to the outcome. This focus on external rewards detracts from the joy of creation itself, turning it into a means to an end rather than a fulfilling experience in its own right. The author argues that true fulfillment and happiness lie not in external achievements, but in the pursuit of feelings. When we do something for the sheer joy of doing it, when we allow ourselves to be fully present in the moment, we tap into a source of joy and creativity that transcends any external reward. Chapter 11: Navigating the Path of Awakening, Embracing Peace, Joy, Love, and Fulfillment. The journey towards inner peace is not always a smooth one. In fact, it is often fraught with challenges, setbacks, and unexpected twists and turns. As we begin to dismantle the mental constructs that have kept us trapped in a cycle of suffering, we may experience a range of emotions, including worry, anxiety, and fear. This is a natural part of the awakening process as we confront our deepest fears and insecurities. The key to navigating this challenging terrain is to practice non-thinking. This does not mean suppressing our thoughts or denying our emotions, but rather cultivating a state of mindful awareness in which we observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment or attachment. When we can witness our thoughts without getting caught up in their stories, we create space for inner peace and tranquility to emerge. One tool that can be helpful in cultivating a state of non-thinking is an activation ritual. This is a morning routine designed to set the tone for the day, establishing a positive momentum that can be carried throughout the day. An activation ritual might include meditation, yoga, exercise, journaling, or any other activity that helps you to center yourself, connect with your inner wisdom, and set clear intentions for the day ahead. Another important tool for navigating the path of awakening is the understanding that negative emotions are not a sign of failure, but rather a natural byproduct of a threatened ego. When our sense of self feels threatened, it triggers a cascade of emotions, such as fear, anger, and jealousy. By recognizing this dynamic, we can learn to respond to these emotions with compassion and understanding, rather than getting caught up in their drama. Remember, the journey towards inner peace is not a linear path. There will be ups and downs, moments of clarity and moments of confusion. The key is to persevere, to continue practicing non-thinking, and to trust that the path will unfold before you as you are ready. Chapter 12: Beyond Good and Bad, Embracing the Neutrality of Experience. In the realm of thought, everything is labeled, categorized, and judged. We constantly evaluate our experiences, our relationships, and even ourselves as either good or bad, right or wrong. This tendency to judge creates a dualistic worldview in which we are constantly striving for the good and avoiding the bad. However, the truth is that nothing is inherently good or bad. Our experiences are neutral events, colored by our interpretations and judgments. For example, a rainy day might be seen as a nuisance by someone who had planned a picnic, but as a blessing by a farmer whose crops are parched. The rain itself is neither good nor bad. It is simply a natural phenomenon. When we label experiences as good or bad, we create unnecessary suffering. We become attached to the good experiences and averse to the bad ones, setting ourselves up for disappointment and frustration when things don't go our way. Instead of focusing on what is right or wrong, we can learn to simply observe the facts of our experience without judgment. Facts are objective truths that are not subject to interpretation. For example, it is a fact that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. It is a fact that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. These facts are not open to debate or opinion. They simply are. By focusing on facts rather than judgments, we can cultivate a more objective and balanced perspective on life. We can learn to accept both the pleasant and unpleasant aspects of our experience without getting caught up in emotional reactivity. This does not mean that we become indifferent or apathetic, but rather that we develop a deeper sense of inner peace and equanimity, allowing us to navigate life's challenges with greater wisdom and resilience. Chapter 13: How do you know what to do without thinking? In the realm of life's decisions, the concepts of right and wrong often lose their clarity. While some choices may lead to more desirable outcomes than others, the inherent value of a decision is not always so easily defined. Many major life decisions can trigger feelings of worry and anxiety because we rely heavily on our thinking minds to weigh the pros and cons, analyze potential outcomes, and calculate risks. However, in many cases, the answer to the question, "What should I do?" already exists within us, waiting to be discovered. We often refer to this inner knowing as intuition, gut feeling, or inner wisdom. It is a subtle voice that speaks to us from a place of deep knowing, guiding us towards the choices that are most aligned with our true selves and our highest good. When we learn to trust this inner compass, we tap into a source of wisdom that transcends the limitations of our rational minds. Consider the example of choosing a career path. You might have a logical, well-reasoned plan based on your qualifications, interests, and market trends. However, if your heart is not in it, if your intuition whispers doubts or misgivings, you are unlikely to find lasting fulfillment or success. On the other hand, if you follow your intuition, even if it leads you down an unconventional path, you may discover unexpected opportunities, hidden talents, and a deep sense of purpose. The problem is not that we don't know what to do, but that we are often afraid to trust our own inner guidance. We are conditioned to believe that logic and reason are the only reliable sources of knowledge, and we discount the wisdom of our bodies, emotions, and intuition. However, when we learn to quiet our minds and listen to the subtle whispers of our hearts, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities. Chapter 14. How to Follow Your Intuition. To thrive, we must stop thinking. The state of flow is what connects us to everything around us. Thinking gets in the way between us and the divine and makes us frustrated, angry, resentful, and depressed. To see reality, we must be immersed in the present moment. The past and the future are an illusion, and as such, they don't exist. Following your intuition means believing that you have the inner wisdom, an internal compass that guides you throughout life. This is the state of non-thinking or flow. When we're in this state, we feel connected to a higher power, we lose the sense of time, and we experience positive feelings. Life is a miracle because millions of small events had to occur for you to exist. Most things in life are outside of our control, but a lot of people behave as if the opposite were true. One of the few things we can control is whether we're happy or not, and we do that by letting go of our thinking. That gut feeling inside you is your intuition. Let it guide you instead of trying to force things. Interestingly, your intuition often goes against your rational mind. Most people don't follow their intuition because they're scared. Chapter 15. Creating Space for Miracles. The mind, a boundless reservoir of creativity and potential, can easily become cluttered with the debris of incessant thinking. When our thoughts race and tumble like leaves in a whirlwind, we become overwhelmed, stressed, and unable to access our inner wisdom. In this state of mental chaos, we are less likely to generate truly innovative ideas or experience those aha moments that can change the trajectory of our lives. Creating space for miracles, those transformative insights and unexpected opportunities that can elevate our lives to new heights, requires us to cultivate a state of mental stillness. This does not mean eradicating all thoughts, but rather learning to observe our thoughts without getting caught up in their narrative. Imagine your mind as a cluttered room filled with overflowing bookshelves, piles of papers, and dusty knickknacks. To create space for new treasures, you must first declutter and organize. Similarly, to make space for fresh ideas and insights, we must first clear away the mental clutter that obscures our inner vision. One way to achieve this is through the practice of meditation or mindfulness. By focusing our attention on the present moment, on the breath, or on a simple mantra, we can gradually quiet the mind and create a space of inner stillness. In this state of receptivity, new ideas, solutions, and possibilities can effortlessly emerge. Another way to create space for miracles is by questioning our habitual patterns of thinking. We often cling to outdated beliefs, assumptions, and mental models that no longer serve us. By challenging these thought patterns and exploring alternative perspectives, we can break free from the limitations of our conditioned minds and open ourselves up to new ways of seeing and being. When someone challenges our ideas or beliefs, our initial reaction is often to defend our position and engage in a mental battle. However, this reactive approach only fuels the flames of conflict and reinforces our existing thought patterns. Instead, we can choose to simply listen, to observe the other person's perspective without judgment or defensiveness. In this space of open-mindedness, new insights can emerge, and we may even discover that our original beliefs were flawed or incomplete. Chapter 16. Embracing the Unknown, Navigating the Challenges of Non-Thinking. As we embark on the journey of non-thinking, we may encounter a number of obstacles and challenges. The mind, accustomed to its constant chatter, may resist the invitation to silence. We may experience discomfort, anxiety, or even fear as we let go of the familiar patterns of thought that have shaped our lives. One common challenge is the illusion of safety that overthinking creates. We often believe that by analyzing every detail, anticipating every possible outcome, and planning for every contingency, we can protect ourselves from harm and ensure our success. However, this illusion of control can actually lead to greater anxiety and stress as we become hyper-focused on potential threats and miss out on the opportunities that arise in the present moment. Another challenge is the fear of losing productivity. We may worry that if we stop thinking, we will become lazy, unmotivated, or unable to accomplish our goals. However, the opposite is often true. When we are not consumed by mental chatter, we are able to focus our attention more fully on the task at hand, resulting in increased productivity, creativity, and efficiency. As we learn to navigate these challenges, we will discover that non-thinking does not mean a life devoid of problems or difficulties. Challenges will still arise, but our relationship to them will change. Instead of reacting with fear, worry, and overthinking, we can learn to respond with clarity, calmness, and equanimity. Chapter 17: A New Beginning, Embracing the Simplicity of Truth. The moment we embrace the practice of non-thinking, a new chapter in our lives begins. We embark on a journey of self-discovery, uncovering our true nature and potential. We learn to live in the present moment, to trust our intuition, and to embrace the flow of life. When faced with challenges or setbacks, we no longer seek to add more complexity to our lives through endless analysis and strategizing. Instead, we learn to subtract, to let go of the thoughts and beliefs that are no longer serving us. We discover that the answers we seek are often found not in the complexity of our minds, but in the simplicity of our hearts. The idea of non-thinking is simple because the truth itself is simple. We are not our thoughts. We are the awareness that witnesses them. We are not our emotions. We are the space in which they arise and pass away. We are not our bodies. We are the consciousness that animates them. By embracing this simple truth, we can liberate ourselves from the suffering caused by overthinking and live a life that is more joyful, peaceful, and fulfilling.